I'm holding her hand. And I'm looking at the finger. And Hilda's new diamond that she got for her 10th anniversary is shining back on me. What a feeling it is when you take just that a moment to celebrate 10 years of just the most amazing life that you could ever have. Then we were up in the mountains at a cabin, and we were going to go mountain hiking that day. And you know, mountain hiking, that is one of the favorite things that I do in my life. Since I was a little boy, I'd been mountain hiking. In fact, when I was 2 years old as a boy, I would not let anybody in my family walk in front of me. I would be the one climbing the mountain first. If anybody passed me, I would cry my heart out, sit down and not move again before they were all behind me. I'm a bit competitive. So we're climbing the steepest hill called the Black Slope, and we're climbing up that, and we've done it many times in the winter time, but this is the summertime. And as we're getting up that, we're about 8 or 9 minutes into our hike, which would probably last us about 6 hours. And then Hilda's feet is starting to hurt because she's getting blisters in the back. So we sit down and we try to adjust the shoes, and we put on some blister tape, and we continue walking, and then about 39 seconds later, the blisters are really starting to hurt. So we sit down again and we try to adjust it, and we think everything is fine, and we start walking again, and about one step later, it starts hurting again. Anybody had blisters before? And you're walking a hill that is going straight up like this. So there is like no way to avoid this. So what do you think she did? She turned around and said, I can walk backwards. And she started climbing that hill backwards because that was just half the pain. And 6 hours later, we were back at our cabin. That is grit. Come on, give her a hand for that. It's amazing. Grit is a willingness to commit to long-term goals and the persistence in the face of difficulties. If you saw the little promotion video that I did for this talk on this Sunday, I talked about why is it that some people get to $5,000 or even $10,000 a month, some even $15,000 a month, but they never keep on climbing. And I want to deal with that. And for some of you guys, it's going to be that you got to $1,000 a month, but you got stuck at that level. And for others, you're brand new and you'd say, I don't want to go mountain hiking with you and your wife. But it's the thing that we have a long-term goal, and everybody is setting long-term goals. I don't believe that there is any people on the planet, as I shared, that doesn't have ambition, where you want to go out there and be distinct, and you want to be somebody. You want to be the one that people look up to. You want to be the one that your family is talking about. You want to be the one that when they talk behind your back, it's all about your new car or something else good that you did. Is that true? I'm talking to you. Is that true? Do we want this? So let me just do a very simple example of what I mean about this, because our journey looks kind of like this. So we want to get to the top of the hill. And when we joined our business, It's kind of funny when we join, you know, everything is looking like it's going to go so fast, isn't it? And the truth is that in the beginning, it's really easy, because when you join, it's kind of like you get this trolley and you're just going to push this trolley to the top of the hill. Pretty simple thing, especially in the beginning when it's flat. And then on this trolley, we get a fairly good-sized stone that is weighing like a few hundred kilos. And then you're behind this trolley here, and your job is to push it up the hill. Pretty simple concept, could you agree? So you just get the trolley up the hill. And on the top of the hill, that's where ambition lives. That's your ambition. That's your, I'm at a good place now. If you just could get that up the top of the hill. So in the beginning, this is very easy. Have you ever pushed a trolley with a stone on it? Is that only me that did that when I was a kid? I got my little wagon out and I put stones on it, and I was dragging that to my construction site, and I was building things and got really excited about it. So Art talks about neuroscience. Okay, that's a hobby too, but I much rather build with stones. It's much easier. My Legos and all of that. So the point is that when we start pushing this one, and of course everybody is telling us, you know what? This business is so easy. Just come in, and it doesn't even cost you a lot of money, and these products move themselves. And I'm going to help you, and everybody is going to be successful really quickly. Anybody been to any of those presentations? And you know, and then you tell the story about the one person in your company that grew faster than the other 93,000 that didn't grow. Are you getting this? So we give this one example, but he did it so fast, and he just went up there and just, are you getting me? And then we're very nice to them in the beginning, because what they don't know is that on front of this one, we've got you. And you're attached to this stone or this trolley, and in the beginning, since you need volume in that leg, you're running like crazy in front of it, aren't you? And they're pushing in the back, and they think, wow, that leg grew really fast. And they're getting so excited about this, and they actually think it's easy. But then what happens? We get a bit up in the hill. And now it gets much tougher to push the wagon up the hill. Newton's law, whenever there is a force on the mass, it becomes more tougher to actually push it up the hill. And this is where the challenges start, but it gets worse. Because you, of course, used to be in front of this trolley. And of course, here at this point, we've got some team members behind us that is trying to help us put it up. And of course, there used to be a upline before that also, but at this point when we are just here at the toughest place of the hill, when they reach, and let's just call it the diamond level, when they break through, maybe they get a car and they're just thinking that they are superstars, you get busy with another line and you just cut the rope. Anybody done this? And of course you're wondering, why isn't that line growing anymore? Well, you stopped pulling your load. And then you go, but they were supposed to just push it up the hill. But of course, it became heavy on you to go up that hill and at the same time pulling other trolleys up the hill. So you needed a 3-week vacation. And in that 3-week vacation, of course, your people is struggling because now they got more of the load. And then eventually, one day, maybe somebody gets to the top of the hill, which would be amazing, which is where it is really nice to be, because you got your initial ambition. What happens when you've worked out insanely hard? Anybody? You get sore, don't you? And when you've worked so hard that you actually, maybe you did a 90-day run, maybe it was a 180-day run, maybe you worked hard for 5 years to get to the top of that hill. And you know the pain in your legs, you know the blood, sweat, and tears, you know how hard you had to push. You knew that every Friday or every month close or every week close, you would have to be there on the phone until after midnight, and you were pushing volume in, and you'd go out and you'd actually recruit extra people to put them in under them, meaning pulling your load up that hill, and you were helping all of these people, and you were so excited, and you're totally exhausted after you're a platinum member with 3 airlines and all of those things that follow success. Like when I see people with a high airline membership, I say, I feel sorry for you. You're in the same category as me. Everybody else go, oh, I wish I was diamond. But here's the thing, now you know how tough it is to climb that hill. Now you know the pain. Now you know how much it will take out of you. And that's when you need grit. This is your answer, Maunish. His friend sitting here on the front row, which has climbed the hill, but he wants to go beyond, but he knows how tough it's gonna be. So when we sponsor next person and we hook ourselves up and we start running, we're not running as hard as before. Are you getting this? There's one over there. Is there anybody over there? Okay. Good, so we're not too advanced. A trolley stone up the hill. This is not rocket science. But the thing is that what are the activities that we're doing as we're climbing? Well, it's pretty simple. It's we're getting customers that are producing volume points, like Randy would say it. I don't know why. No, and we're getting salespeople. We call them distributors, and I call them whatever name you like. And then we're developing leadership. And in the leadership, there's 2 things we do. We push ranks and we push knowledge, meaning that they develop into a person that have the skills so that they can help you pull the trolley up the hill. But the problem is, to get to all your ambitions, you actually need to have a deliberate practice around these areas. You're never going to be the one that climbs the mountain the fastest. You're never going to be the one that wins a race. You're never going to be the driver that beats the other drivers. You're never going to be the soccer player that scores the most beautiful goal unless you've got deliberate practice. And you're never going to be the leader that people look up to. Even though you've got the check, you'll never be the leader unless you refine your art or your skills with deliberate practice, so that you know that you're doing this for a reason. And that's why when we get to a certain level, we kind of seem to get stuck. And my goal is that by the end of this session, you'll be unstuck. And you'd get the courage to push that wagon up the hill every time you sponsor somebody new, and that you don't ever let go again, but yet you're finishing the race every single time. Even when you get blisters, even when, and I must say that, having a kid, this is a new game to me. Even when the kids are getting grumpy, you have a reason and you have a commitment as a leader to finish that race. Because if you got them in and you promised them the world, you got to deliver on those promises if you want to be that leader that people want to follow. Come on, somebody. Because we give people an expectation, and we've got an expectations, haven't we? So the expectation is, know what you want, know the price that you have to pay for it, and then start paying the price today. So as soon as we have that expectation, that dream, that ambition, we know what we want, well, then there is a price to pay. And whatever that price is, we got to start paying it today. So for a brand new person in the room, your price might look different from the price of the VIP section up here. But it's still something that you got to pay on a daily basis. Because unless we're willing to really strive for it, unless we're willing to work really hard, why should you be rewarded with so many better things than the rest of the world? That's a valid question, isn't it? Like if you aren't willing to do anything more than the other people in the team, why should you be having a pin that is much higher than them? It's when we do our best and we really go full out and we really push, and when we are willing to pay a price that other people aren't willing to pay, that's when we get to live in a house that other people can't pay for. And it might not be the house, it might not be the car, it might not be the watch, it might not be the vacation, but maybe like we saw this lady at the So Do You Think You Can Speak presentation, that you have some missions, something given to you, a burden that is laying on your heart where you want to go and help people. And she wanted to help women that was victims of slave or sexual slave trade, which there is 27 million women out there as of today, as we speak. And when you get that burden and you want to push for that, well, then you got to be willing to fight for it. So there is a price that you have to pay. I don't know if you're in the audience today, but if you've got that vision to help them, please don't quit on yourself. Because there is people out there that needs you. If you think that people should deserve to sleep as long as they want in the mornings, except for when we're on the Mastermind event, and I'm speaking at 9, then I think everybody should get up, rest of the year, sleep as long as you want. But if you think that getting people free from their jobs, so jobs are good, jobs are amazing, jobs is what runs the world. If people don't have jobs, the world is a cruel place. But there is something better than jobs, which is being an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, as a networker, as a person in this room going full time, you become a job creator. That's why we say a job is a good thing, an entrepreneur is a even better thing, because we create jobs for those that need jobs, those that aren't ready to go and push the wagon up the hill yet. But if you've got that ambition in you, you can't let go of that wagon. You got to finish that race. So I just read an article flying over here from Oslo, and it was about growth companies. And there was 3 factors that people that owned and run growth companies had that they didn't find in those companies that weren't growing as fast. And the rule for a growth company in Norway is that over the past 4 years, the company should have at least 10 employees, so it should have to have some employees. It has to at least double their sales in the 4-year period, and it has to be profitable every single year. And what they found when they went through every single company in Norway, both those that are growth companies and those that are not, they found 3 distinct things. Listen to this. Number 1, they had higher goals for growth. They just dreamed bigger. So this is not only when we're at the Mastermind event and when you joined, oh, my English is getting so bad now, I'm sorry. You joined this profession. That's not the only time you dream bigger. In fact, every single company out there that has success, the recipe for success is that they have huge dreams. And I hope that those dreams have gotten sparked over this weekend. Has anybody been rubbing off on those superstars? If you haven't been rubbing into them, I mean, I found Justin, I was rubbing him all the time because he's killing it. And when I see Peggy, she was coming over to me and back there, I just wanted to hug her. She thought I wanted to hug her because she came over to me and said something nice. No, I just wanted some of what she's got. Because when we hang around people dreaming bigger, when we hang around people dreaming bigger, when we hang around people that have already pushed it to the top of the hill, do you know what? It gets easier to believe that you can do it. I was just actually talking in the back of my head from that door, walking all the way down there, sit down there, and I had my fantastic friend Antti coming over, giving me a shoulder massage. Thank you, Antti. I always thank him from stage because I forget to thank him just when he's done because then I'm so busy getting ready. But I was thinking that, wow, I had a conversation with several people this morning that is producing more volume in their business than I'm currently doing. And I know them, and I'm going to teach them. I'm speaking that I'm going to go out and do the same. I'm so excited. Are you getting this? Because if you can see them, and you can mimic what they've done, and you can get some of the keys that they're using, you can do it. Because the minute you see your ambition and you develop the grit, there is nothing that can stop you from living at that new level that were just promised to you. But there is going to be a deliberate practice. Because unless you're willing to become the best of the best of the best of everyone in your company and getting customers, you're not going to create the following in your team of having the best of the best. Unless you become the best of the best in enrolling distributors, not necessarily saying that you are the one that have the highest sponsoring average, but that you're the one that never lets that trolley go down the hill. Because I've seen so many times that people get all the way up here with their trolley and they're up here and then their uplines let go, and I've seen them after the trolley comes down the hill and they've been crushed under it, they lose their car bonus, they lose their thing after one, and they look like tomato ketchup. It's a blood pool because somebody let go, but you got to be the best one of seeing your people through, and you got to be the best one on leading them. Becoming leader is not easy. Do you know why it's not easy? Because you got to be the one often carrying the negative news. So let's go back to, do you think you can speak? So up here, it's really hard to be in those chairs because we know out of the 4 of us, somebody got to deliver the negative news. And then Art starts speaking first every time. So somebody becomes me. But I'm fine with that because I know, and I don't know if you're in the audience, I don't remember your name, I'm sorry about that, but the guy with the beard that had his adoptive kids and his foster kids. And it was a bit tough. Could you agree on that? Not as tough as I would be with some of our own leaders. So be glad you're not in our team. But it was a bit tough, but we did get the message through and we did hug up here. But just under the scenes, I met him walking in a hallway a little bit later in the evening, and I met his son, which was a beautiful, beautiful boy. And I had the opportunity to give him a gift, which made him smile like he was shining up the full room. And I got to give him one of those really, really big hugs, because the teacher you remember is not the one that never told you the truth. It's the one that told you the truth and had the guts to pull you through your problems and deliver you at the other side. So the second time up the hill takes a lot more grit. That's why it's so hard to push beyond. The third time up the hill, you know so well how much pain you're gonna have that you are actually scared of that hill. Anybody wave to me if you've been in this position, okay? You're seeing them waving in the front. The next year you want to be in these front seats, by the way. And I hope you all got your tickets for next year, because if you think this year was good, next year is going to go beyond. But you got to develop that grit, and let me just deal with a few things that is a little bit more technical for a second. When we have grit, it means that we go and we have more effort, there is more planning, there is more persistence, we spend more time on getting our good strategies together, and we have, or we develop what it really takes to succeed. Embracing this knowledge will not only help see yourself reach the goals that you have more accurately, but when you start developing grit, you actually get more grit in the process. So the second time up the hill actually makes you more capable of running up the hill the third time, and the third time up the hill actually makes you more capable for the fourth time up the hill. That's why when you see Sarah, which got a lot of grit, I mean, she has been one of those people that just amazed me from year to year, because at that age, with that paycheck, with that organization, and still she takes the time to do everything that she does together with her husband in India. I mean, that is amazing. But that's great, because she's run up that hill and she run it again. And here is the thing. When we start exercising, the faster you get back out exercising again, the easier it is to overcome those sore legs. We know that for a fact. If you've studied exercising, you know if you wait too long, the pain is going to be as sore again. So if you exercise really hard one day, and then you wait 2 weeks and you exercise really hard, the same pain is coming back. And if you continue just every 14 days for the rest of your life, every time you exercise hard, it's going to be painful. But if you exercise every third day, after about 3 months, it's not going to hurt anymore. But you're going to build some intense muscle on pushing that wagon up the hill. Positive thinking versus negative thinking is one of the things that people often deal with. Let me just show you an example here. When we think, there is actually neurons in our brain, and the neurons in our brains looks like this. They are sending out signals to each other, and they're communicating. And we don't only have neurons in our brain, we have neurons in our heart, and we actually have neurons in every single cell in our body. So when we think, we affect the whole being, okay? When we think negatively, we produce an insulator in our blood veins called cortisol. So negative thoughts actually make sure that the communication between the different parts of your body stops. When we think positively, we produce a conductor which is called serotonin. So when we talk about positive thinking, it's not just that we think that that is something good. No. Today, we study goal setting in a different way than we did before. We actually take people in and we put them in a brain scanner, and then we show them the pictures, and then we see how their brain reacts to it, so that when we talk about stuff we talk about, we know for a fact that it is working. So we know that when people think positive, there is going to be an activation in the brain of serotonin, which triggers the dopamine. And dopamine, by the way, that's the good feeling you get when you're shopping, especially for shoes. And that is spreading throughout your whole being, and you feel more powerful. And you've probably seen the example of somebody taking somebody and put them on stage, and then they put out their arm and they say, think really negatively, and you can take like one finger and put it down, and then you say, think really positively, and you couldn't push down their arm. If you don't have seen it, well, try it in the break. When they say positive affirmation, they become powerful. I think Hilde talked about power thoughts, so how the putt is more easily put, and how the puzzle is faster laid if you have power thoughts, if you think positively. But I want to go beyond this old knowledge and say that it's really not positive thinking in saying that I'm happy. It's not really negative thinking in saying that I don't have any problems. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the concept of additive thinking or subtractive thinking. And that's the real words to describe this process. If you think additively, you produce the serotonin that gives you the dopamine. If you think subtractively, you produce the negative feelings that causes the cortisol. So I teach always when our leader says, I have gotten nowhere. And I say, so how many customers is 0? Well, no, I've got more than 0. But you just said that you got nowhere. They had a subtractive thinking. They say, I don't have anything, but come on, your pin tells me that you're a diamond. Come on, somebody. Have you ever had somebody in your team saying that I didn't have any volume this week, and then you see that they're at the pin level of Star Cheeseburger Commander? Are you with me? They have a subtractive thinking. They say, I don't have anything. And here's the problem with a subtractive thinking. It is, if I take nothing and I time it with 1 billion, you are still somebody with 0. But if I take additive thinking, if you could just get one more, just one person in your team, and I go and say that we multiply that with 1 billion, you're a billionaire. And billionaire is maybe a little bit big here, but if you think about it, if you have 1,000 and you say, and you talk about those 1,000 customers in your group as nothing, and you double it, you've still got nothing. But if you have 1,000 and you double it, that's 2,000. So if you just count what you have and multiply, and focus on growing what you have, it can look really good. That's why we always draw these examples of 2 becoming 4, 4 becoming 8, 8 becoming 16, 16 goes to 32. And on the 28th level, you've got more than 7 billion people in, which is the goal of everyone here. Just 27 levels of your Fast Start program, and you will have to go home and make more babies. If we fantasize and think about the good things, about our ambitions, and the obstacles that we might face on the way, we get the best results. Because when we do that process of doing the additive thinking, where we're not afraid of anticipating that on Tuesday, some of this mushy good feeling that you have when you leave here is going to be lower. And we anticipate that somebody is not maybe going to do exactly what you want. So we think about that obstacles and we plan on how we get through it. We take those lofty aspirations and we turn them into solid goals that we are willing to fight for. Because if you tell people that this is just going to be easy, well, here is a study on weight loss. Those that thought it was easy and those that thought it was difficult to lose the weight, you know what? The difference between the easy group and the difficult group was 24 pounds in weight loss. If you work with a weight loss company, this is important. 24 pounds more loss to those that thought it would be difficult to lose the weight. So thinking that something is difficult is not negative thinking. It actually helps you because you anticipate the hurdles that you will have to overcome pushing the wagon up the hill. Or as in the first example on your mountain walk, when you anticipate that there is going to be challenges reaching your ambition, you're actually going to be more capable of overcoming the problems. Those that were in the breakout session that I had, I drew this. So there is you, and then there is a big box between you and your goal. And the big box in between I call distractions. There is never going to be a story told where it was dream victory. There is always going to be the story told about the dream and then all the struggle and then the victory. Who would ever watch the movie where we just had a happy beginning and a happy ending and in between they were just talking? I mean, that's quite boring, isn't it? It's not any fun at all. So who would ever follow a leader that just had their victory so quick that nobody can ever copy it? No, people want to hear your struggles because when they hear your struggles, they know that if you got through that, they can get through it, and it makes their dream become real and alive. So when we take this to the next level, and we start with this mental contrasting, is what we call it in the language of neuroscience. And we actually look at the future hurdles that we would have to overcome. It leads us into, when we start our journey, to greater effort. It leads us to having more energy. We are going to do more planning. And overall, we're going to have a higher rate of goal achieving. And we can implement some of those techniques to overcome the problems. Just one simple one. If you know when and where, so you know when and where in advance, your goal achieving goes up 300%. So if you know that when and where you're going to sponsor the next person, when you know when and where you're going to book your next party, when you know when and where you're going to build the next event, your success rate is increased 300%. So if you anticipate from going out of this conference and then going to your next conference, the things that is going to be problematic in between, and that there wasn't only going to be just massive solid growth, that actually some people are going to leave and you need to have somebody new coming in. And if you add to that an if-then thinking, so if that happens, that's when I'm going to sponsor 5 new ones, you will rock at the next conference. So when you commit to your 25 ambassador tickets, I don't know if anybody will do that, or you just get one and one extra. When you anticipate what's going to happen with the one that you plan to travel here with, and say, if then I'm going to go and sponsor 5 new people and I'm going to have a brand new one in the seat. Your overall goal achievement goes up by a staggering 91% compared to the rest of people that also have the goals. And you need that when you're going to push your wagon up the hill. Because it's to get to those levels which you want to get to because your ambitions tells you that you want to be something, you want to be distinct, you want to be the one with fame, you want to create wealth for yourself and your family, and you want to be the person changing your community. When your ambition tells you that, the most effective way of keeping our hunger is when we keep the discrepancy between where we are and where we want to go. And this is the biggest challenge we have when we leave our normal job and we become an entrepreneur. Because in a normal job, you've got a boss taking care of where you are and where you want to go and where you've been and where you want to go. And if you don't want to go where they want you to go, you don't get to go. But when you're the boss, you gotta create that discrepancy for yourself between where you've been and where you want to go, because unless we have this discrepancy, the hunger is gonna be diminished. Unless you remember where you've been and you know where you're going, which is meaning that you need this goal-setting thinking, there is gonna be a loss in between of the hunger that will take you there. You remember my son's talk on Friday? I'm only 2. Actually, it's just 3 months for those that listen to the tape. But I made it up. It's only 2. And I've learned 2 things. You got to be really hungry. And you got to work really hard. And the rest you'll figure out. But if we don't have the thinking and the anticipation of those things that will try to stop us from going where we want to go, it's going to be really difficult going there. Are you guys getting this? Somebody got some good notes? At least somebody over there, okay. Actually, this is a very good example. This is a beautiful teaching moment in how people work and how your team work. Do you see that? I just paused for a minute, and then somebody over there started clapping, and then somebody behind them started clapping, then somebody in front of them started clapping, then somebody in this section started clapping, and then it rolled over to this section. That's how you get your team going. Sometimes you just got to get the time to get out with those people that are over there that is hungry and they're willing to work really hard. And you get them to the next level, and then it becomes contagious. Because you know what? There is something that people want, and what they want is that they want to be the one that gets the recognition. And when you take the time with some people and you bring them to that level, it's going to cause a hunger going throughout your organization, because they've also got ambition. They want to be distinct. They want to be somebody. They want to be seen. So the dynamic force of believing, by the dynamic force of believing, you can set all your inner forces in motion, and this in turn will help you reach your goals. What you believe yourself to be, you are. The more you believe in yourself, the greater will be your achievements. And if you want to be great, you must walk with people who are really great. I hope you wrote all that down. The thing is that getting to the top of the hill the second time and the third time and the fourth time is going to be a load where you sometimes have to go behind and you got to go back into the trenches again and be this superhero that is just stopping that wagon from going down. Sometimes you can be the invisible hand in front and you can just let them get all the recognition. But even sometimes when you step behind and you stop it and you saved everything and you brought in the new people, you got to leave the recognition for the people that is coming behind you so that they are willing to push together with you. Because this is not a race about us getting to our ambitions. This is a race of having everybody in our team win and get their ambitions, isn't it? What would happen? No, don't clap yet. What would happen? Just think about this for a moment. What would happen? What would happen if every single one, think about every single one in your team, and if you don't have a team one, think about every single one on your name list, 100 people on your name list. Think about what would happen if all of those get to buy their dream car in your company. Dream car, sorry, in your company. What would happen then with your check? If you just, okay, I'm going to push those wagons up the hill. I'm going to get them to the top. I'm so excited. Look at that rock. Oh, what a rock. I'm going to be in front. I'm going to be in back. I'm going to get my upline involved. I'm going to get everybody in the sponsor line involved in this. I'm going to push it up the hill, and I'm going to do it with every single one. What would happen when they get their dreams? You go beyond. You get to the place where you want to live. I'm excited about this. So in the book Happiness Advantage with Swan Aker, I read about a school in Soweto, South Africa, which was planted by Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu. And Swan Aker was there together with Salim, and they were touring the school, and he was teaching the kids something, and I realized that teaching kids about happiness in South Africa was different than teaching adults in America. I think he could have figured that out on a plane going down there or in his research before he showed up, but anyways, he noticed that. And he turned it into a different kind of session, and he sat down with the kids, and he posed a question that he used to pose other places. And he asked for a show of hands, how many of you guys like doing your homework? And he expected the 4 nerds to raise their hand, but he got 95% of the students raising their hand. And that threw him back, and he goes, wow, what a difference. 95% of these kids like doing their homework. So walking out of the school, he asked Salim, why is this so different here in Soweto? Why is the kids so different from back home? And Salim said very simply, because these students see it as a privilege to do their homework. So instead of thinking about the pain, about pushing that wagon up the hill, instead of thinking about the pain of contacting your 100 name list, instead of thinking about the pain about going out and getting a bunch of customers the next week, instead of thinking about the pain of breaking Diamond or Director or Crown or Starfleet Commander with your people in your team, instead of thinking about the pain when you have to run that hill one more time, why don't we change our mindset and we look at it as a privilege every time we get to get somebody into the business. If we look at it as a privilege every time we get behind that wagon. We'll look at it as a privilege when we get up front of that wagon. And we know that the pain is going to be, but we're so privileged to take that pain for our people because it will make them free. Thank you.